Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, I'm going to start out today's program with breaking the circle. I want you to just listen and absorb, because this is an important piece to all leadership. Now, first of all, you need to know that I do like things from Star Wars, okay? And when this first came up, this breaking the circle, I remembered Yoda. He's that wise little man. Yoda, Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, came out in 1999, was quoted saying, "Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering." Now, I remember when that came on, and I put some time into it, but it never really struck me as much as it did today. You see in the article, "Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering" by James Thurber. He did his best to equate this to Galatians 6:7-8, which reads, "Don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. What a person plants, he will harvest. The person who plants selfishness ignores the needs of others, ignoring God, harvests a crop of weeds. All he'll have to show for his life is weeds. But the one who plants in response to God, letting God's Spirit do the growth work in him, harvests a crop of real life, eternal life." Now, at the end of the article, Thurber asked if Yoda's wisdom stood up to a biblical teaching, and he had he made a significant case for us to believe so. A renowned speaker did his level best to explain the concept. Now, as I listened intently to the speaker explained this spiral of life, Yoda spoke about a thought appeared in my world. This teaching did not teach a positive ending. The speaker spoke about the spiraling effect of fear, pointing to anger, pointing to hate, ending in suffering, and starting all over again, stating that humans remain in a state of fear that always ends in suffering. It seems to me that this thinking prolongs and extends the negative thought process, and it also brings that negative thought process to a reality of the spiral. I want you to close your eyes and look at this from a different vantage point. Let's look at it from another vantage, positive outcome. Starting with apprehension, brought on by misunderstanding or confusion. Confusion normally will drive a person to the inquiry stage to ask the questions. The inquiry stage brings new knowledge of the situation. New knowledge provides the ability for a good choice. And a good choice brings on in the evaluation of thought and action. Evaluation brings with it new thought and opportunity. New thought brings a new acceptance and understanding of reality. Wow, a positive outcome. You see, this new thought of bringing a new acceptance and understanding of reality doesn't mean you accept what is going on, but it means you understand that the reality of it is. But I think that gives us an opportunity to take and build bridges and do some understanding and come out with a positive outcome. Apprehension, I believe, is where this person was trying to describe fear. And being apprehensive is being cautious. I don't know if it's all about being fearful, but I believe it's being cautious. And I believe that brings on the confusion part of it. And the confusion part really stipulates, man, I don't understand. I don't know. I don't get it. Now, hopefully, this is where I bring hope into it, is that in the confusion stage, we are wise enough, or we're smart enough, or we're intelligent enough, or we just want to know more. It brings us to the inquiry stage. At the inquiry stage is a place to seek knowledge, to ask questions, to look for understanding, to dig deeper into the who, what, when, where, why, how. But the inquiry stage, I believe, is a time for us to slow down and look at all the aspects, all the parts and pieces. And I believe as we gain knowledge from the inquiry and move into the knowledge zone, I certainly hope that starts to lessen the apprehension and remove some of the confusion. But with knowledge brings the opportunity to start making a choice and choosing the different paths or different ways to do things or say things or be. But as we make that choice, once we've made that choice, we need to evaluate then. You see, did it work? Didn't it not work? What do we need to add? What do we need to subtract? How can I move forward in a better way? What bridges do I need to build with other people? What relationships do I need to make? All those parts and pieces in that evaluation piece. And then hopefully that brings on a new thought process, a new paradigm, a new way of thinking, a new outcome that's positive. And then coming to an acceptance of reality, the way it is. That doesn't mean we're going to not think about changing the way it is. It means we have to at least accept where we're at right now, which will remove the apprehension. We still might be a little confused, but if we are, we're going to ask some more questions. We're going to go through that inquiry stage. I think we're in the inquiry stage most often. If we're any kind of human being that's excited about life, the inquiry stage, the gaining of knowledge, is the way we are able to make good choices and then evaluate whether or not that really was a good choice. But fear, no, I'm not there. I'm not a fear monger. I don't believe, I believe there's some things to be fearful of. A mother black bear raising her cubs, that's something to be fearful of. You betcha. Don't get too close. No. But I think I see people fearful of the skies falling right now. Instead of taking the time of doing the inquiry and gaining knowledge and making a choice. Because life is about choices. Choices will always set you apart from who and what is around you. Now, leaders, the reason I bring this up today is that I've been asked to talk about, well, I got a letter saying, hey, Dick, what is this thing, leaders? You talk about being a leader all the time, but I need some concrete steps. I'm becoming a great leader. And, it's not all that easy because leadership happens daily. Leadership happens daily, not in a day. Now, I will tell you that in my thought process and my studying and the people I've had the pleasure of being around the world, one of the biggest things that in the making of a leader is to learn how to build collaboration. You see, it's not all about me. It's not all about my way or the highway. Building collaboration means the leader actually seeks out other people's information. He actually seeks out other people who are quicker, faster, smarter. the making of a great leader is a person that knows that they don't know everything, that they need to bring people on. They need to collaborate with other people. They need to gather up other information. And they need to spend time doing that, building relationships. You see, great leaders understand it's not all about them. And that's why when I started talking about this progression, this apprehension, moving to confusion, moving to inquiry, moving to knowledge, moving to choice, moving to evaluation, to new thought. You see, the reason I really spent time there was for that. I wanted you to understand exactly where and how and what it means to become a leader. Now, one of the other things that I truly believe is the making of a leader is leaders focus on the team, not on themselves. When praise comes, it's about the team. It's not about themselves. They're always looking at, what does the team need? How can I provide them with what they need to get to where they want to go? You see, it's this thing of focusing on the team as a servant. How can I serve them? How can I make sure that they have all the opportunity? How can I make sure that they have all the equipment? How can I make sure that they have what they need and be the person they come to when they do need something? You see, that's a different focus, isn't it? Another thing I believe makes a great leader is one who has the ability to call out dysfunction. It's not the easy part. I'm going to tell you that calling out dysfunction should be done in private. When someone is not reaching or making or doing what the expectations that have been provided to them, their dysfunction on the team draws the team down, draws the project down, draws the company down, whatever piece. But as the leader, the unfortunate part is going to that person and calling it out exactly what it is. Now, you praise in public. You call out in private. That's the mark of a good leader. I believe highly in these first three. This collaboration, focus on the team, and the ability to call out dysfunction. Because those are hard pieces. They don't come easy, and they're not going to happen in a day. The next one I'm going to talk to you about is that I really believe great leaders, making of a great leader, are ones who challenge status quo. They actually ask questions. Why? Why are we doing it that way? Is there any other way it's better? The worst thing that I could ever hear from a leader is, well, that's the way we've always done it. That's not the mark of a great leader. The mark of a great leader is, well, okay, we've always done it that way. Is there another way that's quicker, faster, better, less expensive? You know, all those different parts and pieces. The leader is the one who asks those questions and challenges the status quo. Now, you might find out that what you've been doing is exactly the way you should be doing it. But if you never asked the question, you never did the research, you never got prepared, how do you know? If there's no way to keep track of the financials or any kind of budgeting, how do you know? So the status quo to be just challenged. I'm not saying you have to go in there and with your ball bat and beat on the table. I am saying go in and ask questions. But I believe that's the making of a good leader. The making of a good leader has the ability to build collaboration within the team. They have the ability to focus on the team first as a servant. They have the ability to call out dysfunction when they see it and try to nurture a way around it. And I believe they have the ability to ask questions and challenge the status quo. I believe in making of a good leader, great leaders concentrate on learning. They know that they don't know everything. They know that if they need something, who to reach out to, but they also are just excited about ongoing continuous learning. Now, sometimes that means reading, going to a lecture, listening to an audio tape or something else, but always moving forward. And the reason that's so important is people do what people see, and great leaders do this in a way that the people around them see them do that. That it's important to this ongoing continuous learning. That it's important to choose to stay ahead, or at least right on top of your chosen career, your chosen opportunity, because you chose to be here. I really get upset when people say, "Well, I didn't have a choice." Well, you always had a choice. It might have been to go get another job. It might have been to take and move away. It might have been, you always had another choice. Would it have been easy? Probably not, but you had a choice. You see, this concentrate on learning means that I'm going to do it every day. Oh, every day? Yeah. Because people do what people see, and great leaders live and walk the talk. They don't just talk, they walk it. And people see what they do, because people do what people see. And people repeat what people hear. The next big thing I believe that makes a great leader is one who learns to be accessible and available. Now, many times I remember that I'd be sitting at my desk and somebody would knock on that door and say, "Hey, are you busy?" And usually I was. Now, if it was something I could put off to the side, I did. And took the time right then. If it wasn't something I could put off the side, I would always say to them, "Let's make a time and date, and we'll make it happen." And we'd both put it on our calendars and we'd make it happen. It might have been in an hour, it might have been in 2 hours, it might be the next day. But you were available. You made an appointment. You made a commitment. Now I have to honestly tell you that many times I would be walking to my car in the afternoon and somebody would have a situation. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be with my family. The difference was the folks that I worked with knew I would be available. I would take the time, stop what I was doing. Because you see, what they were coming to me about was important to them. And it wasn't about me. And I never minded if somebody came to me with an angry, upset situation, as long as they had some way, some solution of correcting it. You see, if someone came in my door and just wanted to moan and groan, that was complaining, whining. But if you had a solution, I normally said, "Well, let's give it a try." Yeah, if it worked, great. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. You see, being accessible is huge. Now, I'll tell you a story about a gentleman who was pretty high level, and we were working together. And I said to him about being accessible. Some people had said he, wasn't able. They weren't able to talk to him. He was never accessible. He was never available. He was always busy. He was always going somewhere, and never had time for anybody. And he said to me, he said, "Well, I have an open door policy." And I said, "You do. Your door is always open, but you never let anybody in." "But my door is always open." I said, "Well, but they know that if they knock, you're always going to be busy. You've not made that rapport. You haven't built that trust." Great leaders find time for all those around them, even if you have to make an appointment to do so. How important that is? It's probably one of the biggest ones, I believe, on your list. I was a director of an education situation, and I always loved being at the front door in the morning. welcoming everybody in and making sure they got to their classroom and what they were doing. And I was available and accessible to not just the students, but to the instructors. Huge piece. Another one I believe is one of the steps of making a great leader is establishing your values and convictions, your non-negotiables, and being able to stand by them and explain what they are. And if someone asks you, tell them. And then you must live them. Because if you're one way at work, one way at home, one way on the golf course, one way when you're at the pub, wherever it's at, you're many different people, your values and convictions are always convoluted. And your trustworthiness is blown away. But establishing your values is more than just what's right and wrong. It is what you will do and what you will not do in certain situations. And it has to be consistent. And that's the big one of values and convictions. You can't be wishy-washy. In one way, one place, another. You just can't be that way. Great leaders are consistent in their thinking and their actions. Now, I want to caution that because through your ages and stages, you're going to change. Leaders are going to change through ages and stages. You want to know why? Because somewhere in there, their concentration on learning just might bring them a new way of looking at things. Just might give them a new ray of hope. Just might build some new thought process. Leaders, when that happens, make sure that you stand up and talk about it. This is where I was, and this is what I've come to. And how I got to this is be through this progression. Let them know that it took you a time and talent and an investigative piece to get to that location. Don't hold back. You see, that's the accountability part. And that's the next one I want to talk to you about. Demonstrate accountability at every level. You see, up here on top of my desk, there's a sign that was on my office. It says, accountability starts with me. It was over the top of behind me on my desk at my office. It's been there for many, many years, and it's kind of faded. The difference was you have to demonstrate accountability. People have to know where you're at and how you're going to react. So many times I've worked with leaders who have been so volatile on one situation and volatile on another situation that it didn't match up. And when it doesn't match up, it raises questions, and that accountability doesn't match up takes away your credibility and your trustworthiness. That, my friends, is a huge piece at building a leader. Another thing I really believe that builds leaders is you lead with character. And character is something that comes through life. I often said character is what you do when others are not looking. But I believe character is something that adds up over your lifetime. It really states and makes who you are, and it really does go on your choices that you make and how you react to situations. You see, this thing of who you are now is not going to be who you are in the future. You will change. Ages and stages has that effect on all of us. The lead with character, though, I believe is something that is going to start and add up, and it's going to be a continuous piece. It's going to be who you are and what you stand for. And people are going to be able to trust the outcomes when they take a look at it. People won't have the apprehension. They won't have a confusion about you. They'll have done the inquiry. They'll have gained the knowledge and be able to make a choice. Because with choices comes evaluation. That's where the character situation happens. Now, this next one, I'm going to be quite honest with you. When I was first told that if I was going to become a great leader, if I was going to become a leader of people, that it was going to be my number one priority to build new leaders, I have to tell you that I thought, man, I'm having a hard enough time building myself, much less build anyone else. But after talking to mentors, coaches, leaders from around the country, leaders of large organizations, small companies, individual households, mom and pop things, religious organizations, I started talking to the leadership. And I realized that's one of our biggest ones that we fall down on. In our religious organizations, we have done a terrible job at bringing in new leaders. In our educational society, we've done a terrible job of bringing in new leaders. And I'm pretty sure on our political side, we've not done a real good job of bringing on new leaders. Because you see this thing with character does make a difference. When I started looking at these 10 things that I truly believe they're steps in making of a great leader, this thing of building collaboration of your team and working with them, being able to focus on the team as a servant, being able to call out dysfunction when I saw it, challenging the status quo, even sometimes that was a messy situation and sometimes caused some drama. My need to learn, continuous learning, to always be reading and going to the next seminar and looking for that next person to learn from. Learning to be accessible and available to all when needed. To being able to establish my values and convictions and live them. To be able to demonstrate accountability at every level of my life and consistency. To lead with character, built over time-tested opportunities and situations. And the biggest one, my biggest hope and joy is really building new leaders. Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, Training and Development. Our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. It is truly what I've been called to do. It's truly what I love to do. It's truly what I do every day. If you get me anywhere, I'm going to talk about personal accountability and personal leadership until you tell me I can't talk about it anymore. It's just who I am. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. On behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope is that you've received a nugget of wisdom or guidance that will help you build your leadership ability. If you have any questions or comments on today's program, please send me an email, dick@leadershipwrangler.com, dick@leadershipwrangler.com, or you know what? Set your very own appointment with me at www.leadershipwrangler.com, www.leadershipwrangler.com. You know what? If it's a burning desire, just give me a call, 727-422-1833, 727-422-1833. And when your organization is ready to have the Leadership Wrangler come and work with them on leadership and accountability, keynotes, talks, instruction, facilitation, business and presentation coaching, you just let me know. Until next time, D.W. Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.